right, item 1B, approval of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Austin?
Mr. Fletcher,
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard,
Yes.
Mr. Goodpaster,
Yes.
Mrs. Guffey,
Yes.
Mr. Alvis.
Yes. All right, item 2, discussions. Item 2A, superintendent's report. Dr. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Excuse me. This evening, we have a number of topics to provide updates on, and I know we have some people in our audience tonight that have interest in one topic about what happened at Virginia High School last week. So if everyone understands, I want to make sure that we get through some of these other updates quickly, and then we'll get to maybe the headliner topic. For one, that the state budget, I'm sorry, let me start with the update on the intermediate school. The board just enjoyed a visit to the intermediate school this afternoon, and we got to see some of the progress there. The whole building is under roof right now, and we are starting to see first coats of paint go up throughout. The stage area, which you see there, is getting roughed in, and we're adding storage underneath the stage to make sure that we have a place to store chairs and so forth. But as we walk through, we're starting to see the school come to life right before our very eyes. And one of the next exciting things that we'll be doing is having teachers get over and see the space and hopefully get them excited about the upcoming move. We have a lot to do as far as getting the staff of the various elementary schools incorporated with each other and mingling, making sure that they know what their classroom assignments are going to be. Unfortunately, we won't know some of those things until the springtime, but as we move through the fall of this year and we start to see the building come and take shape, we're hoping to see the same thing take shape with some of the professional development that we're going to be offering and making sure that teachers are feeling comfortable about the move that is coming up for them. We know for students that there are going to be a number of changes, and one of the items that I want to bring to everyone's attention is October 9th, 10th, and 11th, we'll be having a Connect 4 event that is being put on by our elementary principals and staffs, and that is going to be an event where our students from the various elementary schools get together over at Sugar Hollow, and we've got some events planned for them to be coordinated with the teachers and so forth, so that we get that same kind of mingling with our students and really start to work this year on the idea of becoming one student body, one Bearcat family throughout the county, or throughout the city, rather. Sorry, that referencing county schools is a habit that's dying off quickly for me, but still comes up. So the Connect 4 events will be happening next week, and those are primarily for students and teachers to interact with each other. Next thing that I want to mention is the update on the state budget. We are still waiting from Virginia Department of Education to see the actual calc tool. However, we've been able to see some rough estimates on allocations, and Ms. Jones has been busily working on the second budget revision that will help incorporate some of those changes. One of the things that you may have seen publicized is the allocation for a 2% raise for SOQ positions, and right now in the budget revision that you're going to vote on this evening, that is not incorporated in that or allocated in that manner. It's not to say that we've made any decisions about that. All it says at this point is that we are going to have further discussion about that. Still kind of too early to see with staffing and how some of that other money may come to shape, what that does for the budget deficit that we were looking at going into this year. Another couple things to mention. There's been concerns from staff throughout the school system about our work order system and for maintenance requests that get put in and what happens to those things. So this was brought up in our communications department or our communications committee meeting, and we discussed that through the course of the summer, the system gets inundated with hundreds of requests to fix leaky faucets and to fix fixtures throughout the classroom or coverings on electrical outlets. At the same time, our maintenance staff is engaged working on summer-long projects, doing the interior walls and the pods at Van Pelt, for instance. And so some of the cost-saving measures that our own maintenance staff is engaged in keeps them from doing some of those smaller items. And then when we get into August and start getting students into the classroom, our first priority is to make sure that we have comfortable classrooms. And so any major HVAC issues that we're facing, we make sure that those are getting addressed. So it's about this time of year then, once we start to get settled, that we're able to go back through and pick off any of those items that we've missed. One of the fixes that we are proposing after really taking an analysis of what's going on in our work order system is making sure that we have various ways to respond to those requests. For the time being, everything is either you make a request and then it gets acknowledged as that it's been assigned, and then you just kind of wait around until it says it's been completed. We want to give Mr. Buckles and his staff the opportunity to say that, yes, this has been assigned, or to say that this is something that is going to have to be scheduled for a time when students are out of the building or parts have been ordered and so forth, so that there's a little bit more communication with what's going on with those. That way we can get feedback to teachers who have put in a request but don't necessarily see any movement on the item. But we are going back and clearing out that backlog now and getting a little bit better caught up. At the high school, we had 2 restrooms upstairs that had been closed, and through renovations, they are reopening. We've got 2 more to do downstairs, so those will be opening up very soon. We also have renovations at the band room where the flooring there had been damaged by some water, so we've got that in the works, and band students shouldn't be displaced for very long there. The sound system at the football stadium, I know there was some concern about that at the last home game. Mr. Harper has worked with a couple different firms and with the city. So we're actually borrowing from the baseball stadium right now, but we've tested the sound at the football stadium. So Friday night for homecoming, we ought to have a robust sound system and have that one in our corner. Speaking of Friday night, that is homecoming. There will be spirit activities this week, including the CTE Homecoming Carnival on Thursday and a student dance on Saturday. Bearcats host the Tazewell Bulldogs at 7 o'clock on Friday night. Regarding the athletic trainer, last month it was discussed that we were in the process of posting that. We have posted that position and have already been receiving applications. Mr. Harper and Ms. Hudson will be getting those interviews scheduled in October. Cell phone policy, we will have an update on that later in this report, but just wanted to, before they get to speak, I wanted to let everyone know that I had the opportunity to meet with our student school board representatives and was thoroughly impressed with the ideas that they brought to the table and just how thoughtful they are and responsive to the questions I was asking. So we'll have more on that in just a minute. And then the last big thing before the discussion of what happened at Virginia High, the state has also set aside $418 million for what many of you may have already seen as the All-In Virginia Plan. Sometimes it's been referred to as the 70-20-10 plan, but the governor has set aside $418 million statewide for one-time funds to address learning loss, to address the Virginia Literacy Act implementation, and to address chronic absenteeism. And the proposed ratios for that spending is 70% on learning loss, 20% on the Virginia Literacy Act implementation, and 10% on chronic absenteeism and how to address that and engage families. For Bristol, that means approximately $1.2 million of one-time money that will come to our system, and then that will be spread out over 3 years. So we are in the process of developing a plan that will provide tutoring to all students who, in grades 4 through 8, who did not score proficient on either a math test or a reading test, SOL last year, and all third graders who, through early testing this year, have scored in a range that would be equal to being in that non-proficient category. The plan will also address students who were just above that cut in a band that the state is referring to as the low proficient category. These are students who may have scored between a 400 and a 440 And some estimates that I've heard, particularly from the state superintendent, say that those are students who pass the test by one question or two questions or three questions. But these are students who historically, if they've passed by that thin of a margin one year, they're very likely not to pass the next year. So our all-in tutoring plan, or the high-dosage tutoring plan, we're still developing that, but we hope to launch sometime in October. And this will have implications for students who fall in those categories, to try to get them an extra hour a day of either reading or math or both. It would not be the case, though, that a student's looking at 2 hours of tutoring. Those students who need tutoring in each of those subjects would be 30 minutes of each subject. So that's going to be quite an undertaking by our teachers and by our principals to make sure that we staff that accordingly and find all the resources that we can have. And that's how we spent most of the time at our last principals meeting, was discussing the ins and outs of that and what we can do. But we will continue to provide updates on that. I also want to make sure that as we have big discussion pieces like that, and like the cell phone policy, to invite board members to participate in that. If we establish committees, we want to invite you to have a seat on those committees also. So then moving on to what happened at Virginia High School on Thursday. There are a lot of implications for what happened and what needs to happen. And I appreciate that the parents that I heard from over the weekend who responded to the letter that I sent out. In the feedback from the parents, there were concerns about the coordination of our response and Bristol PD's response. There were concerns about our ability to communicate before, during, and after the event. There are concerns about the level of training and is that training on target. So I want to take just a few moments here and not rehash every bit of that, but to provide some level of understanding of what happened, because I realize that each student may have experienced this differently, each household may have experienced this differently, the teachers experienced it differently. So to try to put those pieces together in a way that we have a little bit more of a comprehensive view of what happened, I think might be helpful for all of us. Around 11, I forget exactly what the timestamp was. I want to say 11:41, there was a call to the high school, and the anonymous caller on there indicated that he was in a bathroom with a weapon with the intention of carrying out a violent act. Our school staff responded to that, our SRO responded to that, and they immediately undertook providing for the safety of our students in the building. At the time, students were in their second block class, or their second period class, with the exception of students that were out on a pass or were doing an errand for a teacher, things like that. So I would hazard to say that 95% of the students or more were in class at the time. Very shortly after that call was received at the high school, a call was received by Bristol Police Department, very similar to the call that we got. That resulted in police being dispatched to the school. Now, I am going to only comment on our school staff, our responses, and only very generally comment on the coordination of the efforts. But I want to say that one of the things that has been brought to our attention is we did not account for the fact that there were students who were migrating out of their PE classes, students who leave before the bell, and that's part of their everyday procedure. And so when we made the decision to hold students in classes, it was under the assumption that students were in classes. And what ended up happening is, as law enforcement entered the building, and they entered the building with a purpose, but not storming through the hallways and kicking down doors. They entered with a purpose and in a very orderly fashion. There's concern that our students were still in the hallway and had exposure to police officers coming through, looking to ensure the safety of our students. As I said a moment ago, that experience is felt differently by different students. That experience was felt very differently by different members of our staff. And we recognize that, and that's where we want to concentrate our efforts in making sure, excuse me, that as we train and as we get better information about response protocols, we have to update some of our responses. We have some responses that have been on our books, and have been tried and true methods, but have never really had the kind of test that they had on Thursday. And I can tell you, as someone who's been an educator my whole life, that when we talk about crisis scenarios, even as they've been informed by all the horrific events that have happened throughout the country, when we talk about those, we do it in such a safe environment that you can't possibly think of all the different ramifications of every action. This event did show us some of the weaknesses in our response. It did show us that we have opportunities to plan further ahead about some things that, even in all the trainings I've been to, I've never heard attention being paid to the idea of when you're in a lockdown situation. There's been discussion about how to step down from that, but there's never been attention paid to the timing of that, and to say, look, you've got people who are, that their emotions are running high, their adrenaline is pumping. You need X number of minutes to step down from that. And just having those kind of conversations, when you do it in August at a faculty meeting and you talk about the procedures that are in place, you talk about how to move from A to B to C, but you don't always talk about the real human experience of that. And so that's one of the things that has been highlighted in all of this. We also realize that there are people in those meetings in August who we expect are going to be in those classrooms every day. And we provide our training to that audience first and foremost. But what we have missed is opportunities to train people who are in our building on a part-time schedule, substitutes, people who are going to be there but aren't necessarily part of that faculty, part of that staff. So we are going to expand our thinking on how we offer that training. Another implication of all of this was our communication with parents. And I like to think of this also as a before, during, and after proposition, that we are going to, as we update some of our standard response protocols, we're going to communicate ahead of time with parents about what to expect. If a building says that we're going into a secure response, how that is different from a lockdown, how that is different from an evacuation. So we want to get some of these things out ahead so that parents have an idea of the language that we'll be using. We want to get it out ahead of us so that our students know what the experience is going to be like, and so that our teachers know what is asked of them in those situations. So that's the beforehand communication that we want to improve upon. The during communication is very tricky. I know as a parent, I'm a parent of 4. I know that when things are going on, we want to know in the moment. We want our hearts beating in sync with our child's heart. That is somewhat impractical. When we think about the relay of information that has to happen to get those messages out, there are some human factors involved there that we will not be able to say 1 minute ago a lockdown was enacted at such and such school, and we will keep you posted. Our first responsibility is to make sure that we are providing for the safety of the students and the staff in the building, and that communication that happens afterwards, we hope to shorten it or reduce that time from what it was on Thursday, but I cannot sit here and promise that you will have real-time communication with those events. Mr. Shelton, our Chief Technology Officer, and I have talked about what kind of panic hardware we can look at that will help us when someone does activate a crisis response and triggers that communication to 911 services to notify some key personnel in the division who have the ability to then start pushing out that communication. But I want to be very realistic that there is going to be a lag of some minutes, and I know parents are upset with the idea that their students were the first to alert them that the situation was going on. And I ask you just to think, when you are considering someone at the school has to notify someone at the central office that there's an emergency, and that person at the central office then has to get into a software application, create a message and deploy that message, and then some delivery system has to go out and get that to all the different parents. The timeline that it takes to do that compared to the timeline of your child sending you a text message. We are not going to be faster than the children who send that text message. Now, what I've asked, and I don't know to what degree this was followed, is that as we practice our lockdowns in school this year, particularly at the middle school and the high school, that we coach our students. When we do a lockdown, I want you to take your car keys and your cell phone and put them in your pocket. The reason for that is that if, heaven forbid, there is a violent act at the school and the school has to be evacuated, you're not going to be able to come back and collect those personal items. I've also asked that the students are coached to wait 10 minutes after that lockdown practice has started, and then after 10 minutes, I want them to text you and say, Mom, Dad, we just practiced a lockdown. I'm good, everything's fine. I'll update you again when we're all clear. The reason for that, and I know that that's probably impractical to think that your child is going to wait that long, but the reason for that is every first responder is going to be needing cell phone communication. And if every child is texting and calling at the same time, nobody's going to be able to get calls through. And so what we want our students to do and what we want our parents to be conditioned for is the idea that they're going to communicate with you. They're going to let you know that they're okay. But this also gives us an opportunity to do some of the things that we want our teachers to do. And that's to take attendance. That's to ensure that we know where all of our students are. Okay? In the time frame that we were looking at on Thursday, everything was so condensed and so compacted that not all of that communication was able to happen in the order that we wanted it to. And we apologize for that. But that's also something we know we are going to get better at. Last part on that communication piece is after the event. I did send a letter on Saturday evening to parents to talk about that timeline. We want to get that kind of communication out sooner in the future. I did want to give myself the advantage of being able to debrief with people who were in the building at that time, people who were on the outside of that situation, and we have more debriefing to do. But in the future, my expectation will be that if there is one of those safety standard response protocols enacted at a school, that as soon as that happens, we will do our very best to communicate what's going on at the school and to give you that peace of mind and let you know how long it was or if the student body was evacuated, but then to follow up later that evening and say, thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for, not rushing to the school right away, or thank you for following our protocol for how we're going to reunite students and families, but then provide you the information that you want. To be able to do that all in one fell swoop, it is unfortunately impractical. But, Mr. Chairman, that's one of the things that I wanted to communicate there is that we are very cognizant of the fact that there are places that we can improve. I'm very thankful that at the end of the day, this was not a true act of violence. This was an attempt to create confusion, and confusion was present there. I think that our staff did a good job of knowing what steps to take, but I think that it is something that highlights our need to be a little bit more consistent with what our expectations are for communication in the building and what response our teachers are going to be taking, our staff and our teachers will take at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? I just have a couple. I think, just last month we voted on our crisis plans. And it's very easy to sit here and sit at home and read through those crisis plans. And, everything looks good on paper. But we all know in real life, paper don't have all the answers. And, I look forward to us in the future having more real life crises in schools, to practice this. The little things that we found out, the big things that we found out, we're not going to find them out by everybody knowing we're going to have a have a drill. That's not gonna happen. We gotta have unannounced drills so that so people aren't prepared. You know, if you're prepared as a teacher or as a student and you know a drill's coming, you know, it takes the edge off. But, you know, I'm looking forward to us having more unannounced drills so that we can be more prepared. I mean, that's the only way for preparedness that I see in a crisis situation. My son went to school to be a pilot, and I learned very quickly a pilot, all that is crisis management. You know, what to do when your plane's in a spin. You know, they shut the engines off. How do you fly the plane when your engine's shut off? If my wife would have known that, he'd never went to school to be a pilot. But, you know, that's how you learn how to do things is in you know, keep a cool head in a crisis. And you can't do that if you don't practice that. So I look forward to us to moving forward on that.
I also wanted to say I've heard from a lot of parents and students and teachers since this has gone on, and I have a lot of notes and feedback to share with the board in closed session tonight. And you may not hear back from us on every single specific nitty-gritty detail that you share with us that you want to be changed. And that's, you know, there's a reason that we voted on our safety plans last month and that they were not available for the public, because we don't want to put every single detail out there on the internet and streaming on Facebook right now, because we don't want people who are bad actors to have access to that. So please don't think that we are not responding to the concerns that you all have shared, and don't think that we're not going to make changes, but also don't be surprised if you don't hear feedback or a resolution on a specific concern you've brought, because that's the nature of the situation that we're dealing with.
Dr. Scott, question. How do you notify everyone in the building there's a lockdown? How's that done?
The best method is the loudest method. And when we can use the PA system to give a clear order, you know, to lock down, lights out.
So it's used the PA system.
That's going to be the best, but if there are dead spots in the building, we need to know those. We need to get that corrected.
But apparently the people in the gym didn't get that PA notice.
I'm not so sure that it is a volume, or if it is that a lot of times, you know, kind of like when you're walking through the airport, you're going to hear somebody on the PA, and it becomes white noise at some point, unless you know they're talking to you. And so I think that's part of what has happened is we make announcements throughout the day, and a lot of times students are able to tune that out. So I think that we need to make sure that when we communicate those things, it is loud enough, it is specific enough, and it is attention-grabbing.
Or maybe a high-pitched buzz before the announcement's made to kind of everybody's attention.
We will explore several options.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Well, I would just like to, you know, the all-in plan. I like the looks of that moving forward. You know, with the money to, you know, to get some tutoring for our students that are struggling, and the ones that just barely got by. I mean, that's great, and to be able to apply some of that to our absentee, you know, problem as well. So, all right, that sounds good. All right, now moving to our student board representative report.
Hello, I am Emma Taylor, your new junior student representative. For my All About Me slide, I definitely wanted to lean into my artistic side, because that is my strong suit, what I enjoy to do. I am currently in art club, and I run my own business called Tailor Made Face Painting. I am shadowing my mentor, Aline Bax, for oil painting and caricatures. And together we are starting up art shop classes in our community. And alongside my mother, I plan to be an elementary level art school teacher. So I want to make a change in our schools and more after graduating. I plan to attend Virginia Highlands and then transfer to ETSU.
Hello, I'm Wilson Hartley. I'm going to be another one of the junior representatives. You can see me up there. That's a picture of me from earlier this year in my snazzy lumberjack outfit. I do a good bit through my school. I'm very active. I'm in the marching band, our scholastic bowl team, and our swim team. This year I'm trying to add to that and join our Interact Club and Beta Club. I'm big on math, and so when I leave this high school, I plan to head towards Virginia Tech, study engineering.
We wanted to go ahead and give an update on where we are with the phone policy. Like Dr. Scott said, we met with him. We'd come up with some draft survey questions. We met with him, and those were approved. We came up with 10 questions. 2 of them were open-ended, and 8 of them will be answered using a Likert scale. We tried to come up with questions that hit different subtopics within the phone policy. We hope that this survey will help us gather student data that will help us draft a new phone policy for the high school and the other schools also.
So a couple weeks ago, we had our first PTO meeting. The PTO will be sponsoring the Homecoming Dance, which will take place on October 7th in downtown Bristol. They also talked about the Athletic Booster Club and their current plan to have one parent from each high school sport serve as a representative on the community. The PTO also wants to redo the Teachers Lounge at the high school to create a calm space for teachers, which I personally think is a great idea.
We also would like to talk about our student involvement with clubs. Interact Club has had its first meeting this month, and they will focus on a majority of the community service projects. World Language Club also had its first meeting this month as well, and Ms. Clear gave an interesting presentation about her trip to Scotland, and this club will meet again this month to watch a scary foreign film. We would also like to announce that Beta Club has sent out their first invitations last week, and there are over 80 Bearcats eligible for this honor. Along with our student involvement, we have our Spirit Squad, and it has been very active so far this year, and they have helped put together a spectacular student section, which updates our student morale for our Win Our Games. And along with this, they have contributed to the Homecoming Carnival and the Homecoming Dress-Up Days.
Up there on the screen, you can see some pictures of our news crew. They've been very helpful, very informative in our school. They're the people now that give us our daily news, things that a student would want to hear about announcements in sports and what they're going to be eating that day. It's giving them a nice community, and they're just overall very informative.
And that is all we have to present for you all today.
Well, thank you all, and welcome to the board, Emma and Wilson. Glad to have you guys with us, and gals.
I've got one question.
Okay.
What's the Likert scale?
Let's see if they remember.
Yeah, so basically a scale that goes from strongly disagree to disagree, and then to agree to strongly agree. Our questions are basically statements, and it's to gauge like if students do agree with that or if they don't, to kind of see like where they are.
Good answer.
I think it's neat. We have 80 students eligible for the Beta Club, and I hope they all take advantage of that. And I was just curious about the Bearcat News. We stream sports, and I just wonder if any of our students are interested in moving in that direction. You know, when I talked to Dr. Perigin, when WFHG first quit carrying sports, my initial thought was that, we could have students involved in that as well. And I don't know that we've done that yet, but just something whoever of y'all are involved in the news, if any of y'all are involved in that, I think it'd be a good way to try to, get introduction to it some way.
Broadcasting careers.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Welcome to the board, and I like the update on the Spirit Squad. They've been you all have been doing a great job at all the games, and it's been a lot of fun to see the different themes and to see so many students showing up at so many different sports.
It's definitely helped with our student morale, I would have to say, yes.
That's good. Thank you all. We look forward to your, the results of your study next month. All right, item 2C, discussion on update of cell phone policy.
Yes, sir. And as discussed with the students, we have been developing questions that will be used for surveys. The plan is still to deploy a student survey, a parent survey, and a staff survey, and to bring those results back to the November meeting. My true intention was to have those going right now and to be live and to be able to say, the survey is open right now. However, with what happened at Virginia High School, that went to the back burner tail end of the week, and so we're looking forward to getting that online probably before the end of this week.
That's good. Y'all would like to be able to have some, I think we all would like to have some data in front of us for next meeting so we can, kind of move forward with, in a direction here to help everyone.
I also thought with a sensitive topic like that in the air, that would have only further polarized the results of that survey. So hopefully with the passage of time, we'll get more natural results with that.
Sure. Okay.
Testing.
Okay, so the next,
Is that better?
next item up is public comment. I've got 3 cards, and Kathy Music was the first card I get. Ms. Music, how you doing?
Good evening, Chairman Alvis, Dr. Scott, members of the board. As you know, my name is Kathy Music. I'm the regional representative for Virginia Professional Educators. And each fall, we offer grants and scholarships to teachers, and you don't even have to be one of our members to qualify. I've left a brochure like this at each of your tables. The third, I think if you open it up, it's the third paperback, up to $500. Our organization, we're nonprofit, so twice a year we give what money is in our bank, I guess, in grants and scholarships. They're easy to write. In my career, I wrote a grant when I was a principal for laminating film. I got $500, and my teachers were overjoyed. My daughter was a brand new teacher. She'd moved from language arts to math. She got manipulatives for her classroom. Some of my teachers have got things like, and this was back when iPads were not very common, when every child didn't have an iPad in their hands, but personal iPads for students with disability, lots of different things the grants are written for. Anyway, I just wanted to call everybody's attention to it and know that those are available, and the fall submission is November 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next card I have is Ashley Pastel.
Bear with me because this is a very hot topic for me, very frustrating topic. Mr. Alvis, you know me because your wife was my swim coach, but I come out not only as a Virginia High School parent, but I also come as an alumnus of Virginia High School. In the active shooter event that happened Thursday last week, there were multiple issues with the lockdown protocol. The safety and traumatic event of the students is the main dysfunction. My son Ezekiel Postel and other students had to run for safety in an open area with no protocol in place. The amount of danger and the trauma that was endured is ridiculous. Him and 9 other students ran for their life to the auditorium and hid behind the chairs with the lights off. Him and 9 other students were never accounted for. Nobody in administration knew where they were even at. Excuse me. When I picked him up early, officers were still trying to clear the building, but lunch was still proceeding on, and students were at the picnic table. When a staff member is laughing at the students for being removed from the traumatic event, that is where poor representation of Bristol, Virginia Public Schools and the Bristol, Virginia Police Department. excuse me, we could easily be making funeral arrangements due to the neglect from Bristol, Virginia Public Schools and the Bristol, Virginia Public Police Department. What communication improvement is going to happen? What safety protocol is going to be put in place for that area of the school? What training is Virginia High School and other school staff going to implement to help with trauma after an event? How do you even plan on keeping my son and other students safe? Just today, our superintendent said there's no guarantee to keeping the students 100% safe because there's bad people in the world, but you just sit here and told me that you're going to keep them safe and you don't want them contacting us immediately. Yes, you as a public educator must stand up and protect our students when they are in your hands. There's no excuse. Either protect them or get off the seat and let others in that will protect them. And let me remind you one more time, my son and several other students could have been executed Thursday if it wouldn't have been a false incident.
Thank you, Ashley. The next card I had is Dan Hardwick.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. My name is Daniel Hardwick, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been working in the mental health field since 1990, done a lot of work with victims of domestic violence and child abuse and other kinds of violence, a lot of lecturing on post-traumatic stress disorder. The reason that I'm here is Charlene Mullins, who is Ezekiel's grandmother, is a family friend of ours for 20 plus years. When this incident happened on Thursday, my wife and I were informed of this fairly quickly, and of course reached out to them. You know, they're almost like family to us. What can we do to help? I had the opportunity to spend some time with Zeke Friday afternoon, obviously to try to help him process what happened to him. His experience during this incident was different than many of the other students, I would say. Many of the other students were in classrooms behind locked doors with teachers. He was one of 10 students who were, as his mother just informed you, unaccounted for because they had been released early from their prior class. So they went to an auditorium that they were not able to secure. They had the experience of, first of all, running for their lives, literally, and trying to secure the room that they were in. Obviously a more traumatic event for him than for many of the students. Dr. Scott, I appreciate the things that you said earlier about learning from this event. I think there are certainly some things that everybody can learn from this event about your response protocols. Give some consideration to training for the staff, training for the teachers, how to deal with trauma, how to respond to parents who are going to be upset in a situation like this. Some of the things that have been said, I can understand why the parents are mad. You need to be more understanding with them and more understanding of the fact that, yes, the school has the responsibility for the children while they're there, but they're still our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardwick. I would just say, I mean, I think we heard in the report that there's a lot of things went wrong. Ezekiel, all I can say is I'm sorry for your trauma, and you can guarantee that we've learned from this and learned from your heartache and just being emotionally distraught. You know, we've learned from that, and I think the six of us sitting here can say that we'll do our best that this will never happen again. We can't guarantee it, but we know what to look for. You know, as I said earlier after the presentation, until you have this situation, you don't know what to look for. But we certainly do now, and thankfully, it was a prank, thankfully. And we do have gains to make and changes to make, and they will be made. So thank you all. All right. Item 4A are our recognitions, and tonight we're recognizing our 2022-2023 retirees. Who do we have? Mr. Ritchie? Yeah, we'll come down as a board. Yep.
Board members, if you'd like to come down, and you can welcome everyone, and I will call some names. All right, so I am a former math teacher, so you're going to find out if I got the math right or not. Okay. In no particular order. First of all, Tracy Mercier, she retired with 29 years of service with Bristol, Virginia Schools, starting in 1994. Congratulations, Tracy. She looks so refreshed and renewed. Rebecca Meadows, she came to us in 2001 with 22 years of service, and she has already made a trip to Alaska, so she is enjoying retirement well. Rita Rust, I am not sure she is here with us tonight. She began her career with us in 2011 with 12 years of service. Mike Talbert, one of our ITRTs, he came to us in 1990 with 33 years of service. Randy Hodge came to us in 1990 with 33 years of service. Brenda Blevins, who worked at the Highlands Detention Center, began her career with Bristol in 2003 with 20 years of service. Jane Hagee began her career with us in 1993, and she completed 30 years of service. Kathy Hicks, who is here with us tonight, Program Director of School Nutrition, came to us in 1997 with 26 years of service. Mark Googe, computer technician, came to us in 1998, and he is retiring with 25 years of service. Melissa Peters, one of our ITRTs, came to us in 1990 with 33 years of service. And Carlos Lee, I do not think he's with us. He was media specialist at Van Pelt Elementary. He came to us in 1980 with 43 years of service. And that is all of our retirees. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Congratulations to you all.
So we're going to take a little break right here. Does anybody have any comments they want to make about our retirees?
Thank you, and we miss you.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Most of y'all, All right, item 5 is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda. Is this on?
Second.
I don't think my mic's,
I would like to pull out
hello?
the gifted section.
Well, let's talk about it before we pull it out.
Okay, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, so you go ahead, Frank, then I'll go.
Well, I sent an email to all of you with questions that I've got. And it looks like an outline of a how-to rather than a plan at this point. Am I mistaken, or?
What you see there, part of that is part of the state template.
Right.
And so if you were to check other school divisions, you'd see a lot of the same language repeated. So there are elements of that that are part of the state template, and then elements that we build in below that. The whole approval of the plan will be when we have board approval. We will then send that to the state, and the state will arrange to give feedback on that. And if you'd like more detail, Mr. Ritchie is the man in charge. And
You have to, have you filled in the boxes for people to do the various things?
Mr. Ritchie, would you come to the podium, please?
The state provides a template, and the template that we have used for as long as I have been a part of the division is this template. And after our document, our plan is approved, it is submitted to the state. And then there is even a rubric that is given to all gifted coordinators to see, basically to check off if our plan meets all of those things. And the template, one of the things that it does as it goes through is it asks specific, it doesn't ask questions, it makes statements. So there's an expectation that you're covering these things. So it does make the template itself makes the plan longer. And I think that is a concern, Mr. Goodpasture, that you have, that it just makes it longer. As I was getting ready to begin the review of this back earlier in the spring, I looked at several different plans that are out there on school divisions' websites, and they look very similar. If you go to other schools, you're going to see the very same template, the very same language in the tops of each section, and then below that is the information that is put together to build the actual plan.
I guess one of my questions was on, seems like there's a lot of redundancy. You're identifying the people, and then you're checking the eligibility, and then checking with the parents, and blah, 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 in every category, you have to kind of go through all that again, it looks like. Any way that we can distill it down and make it simpler?
What I would ask, and if it would be your preference to display on our website, because we're required to display our gifted plan, we could use the same headings, and I would prefer that what we submit to the state is the template. Well, I suspect that it certainly would make things simpler for the reader of the plan. But if we wanted to just put the headings and cut out the verbiage that's in the template, we could do that, and that would certainly not be difficult to do. If I would ask that you approve tonight. The due date is sometime in October. I'm not sure of the due date, but I could pull that out, which would make it probably instead of 20 pages, it probably would drop it down to maybe 12 pages.
So if you get approval with the state, how long does it take for it to be operational?
Well, when we approve it tonight, it will be operational. After the review is made, we may have to make some minor edits, but
The counselors and the teachers are all alerted.
they are all aware. I mean, we have had at least 2 different conversations with all of the counselors and principals as well.
Okay, real quickly, what's GIA mean?
It is gifted, intellectually left. If we went to that table, I could tell you. So the question you
There's a lot
had,
of
go
alphabet
to
soup with
page,
these
right
things.
here.
A lot of alphabet soup with these things.
Yes, and so,
Get generally intellectual.
intellectual aptitude. In fact, all of those prefixes, there they are.
All the initialisms indicate a test.
The type of giftedness.
I can ask you later.
Sure.
Hey, when I saw that, I knew this is just for us to be able to put our plan with the state, but how are we doing? Because we talked about our gifted program. How are we doing with that? I mean, are we moving forward with
We are.
making changes to it?
Yeah, so we are starting, we have an elementary after-school program that is taking place. It begins this Thursday, every Thursday. And in fact, Ms. Tallman is one of our teachers. We have 4 elementary teachers who's leading that program. I think we have about 15 or 16 students who have signed up right now. And I got an email at the end of the day that we had 2 more. So I think just about every one of our elementary students are participating. We're also doing an after-school program at the middle school. I am not sure exactly the timeline on that, but I think it's getting ready to begin. We have several teachers who are helping with that. And I met with Ms. Chitwood today to talk about something we might be able to do during the day, which is something we're doing in elementary as well. Okay. We're not sure the teacher. We talked maybe about Miss Buchanan. We'll keep that a secret right now because she does not know that yet. But possibly she might work with those students, but we've talked about that. So those are some things that we have going.
How our progress was going on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So back on the gifted, you're in charge of it?
I am the gifted coordinator. That's one of the hats I wear.
Any other questions or concerns about anything else? Ms. Austin?
Did we have a second?
We did have a second.
Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher.
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard.
Yes.
Mr. Goodpaster.
Yes.
Mrs. Guffey.
Yes.
Mr. Alvis.
Yes. All right, item 6A, approval of 2023-2024 school board budget revision number 2. Ms. Jones? Dr. Scott?
So with this budget revision, again, we have looked at the grant category offsets and just going through and again, with the new state monies coming in and where we will put some of those allocations. So in general, until we have a plan for exactly how the tutoring will work, we've kind of parked the money for now, and then we will figure out how much of that goes into compensation and fringe benefits and so forth.
So basically that, the 1.9 million is
1.2
or 1.2, yeah.
Yeah, that, and then the, and I'm forgetting the number off the top of my head, but other adjustments from the state where the increase in support cap positions and so forth. Would you mind stepping in, Ms. Jones?
I don't mind at all. Thank you,
Thank
Dr. Scott. Good evening, Mr. Alvis, members of the board. This budget revision number 2 includes the latest state revenues, which is the support staffing standard that Dr. Scott indicated, the increase in the compensation supplement, and the all-in one-time funding. It also, as Dr. Scott mentioned, the additional funding that we received restores the lottery, and the ESSER 3 funds. We restored 1.864, the state did, when we received the school construction assistance program monies. They restored 1.864 in ESSER funds. The total increase in revenues and expenditures is $3,257,989.98, and there are no changes to the other funds.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 23-24 school board budget revision.
I'll second.
Any questions? Comments?
Mr.
Austin?
Fletcher?
Oh.
Sorry.
Ms. Jones, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Okay. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Goodpaster?
Yes.
Mrs. Guffey?
Yes.
Mr. Alvis?
Yes. All right, item 6B, approval of receipt of donation of Outfitter 400 red ATV for band use. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the receipt of the donation of the Outfitter 400 for the band use.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or discussion about that?
What year is it?
Do you know the year?
I just,
I think if you click on the
I
PDF.
read through all of
says-
it. I never could find out if it's an old one, a new one, or what.
It's new.
It is newly purchased.
It's new.
It don't say the year on it.
Nah, it's not on there. That's
So-
okay. Irrelevant. Yeah.
He's wanting to know if he could check it out during hunting season.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Jones?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Goodpaster? Mrs. Guffey?
Yes.
Mr. Alvis?
Yes. All right, and that takes us to closed session.
Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following matters: discussion of certain personnel, recommendation for employment, and resignations.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Jones?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard?
Yes?
Mr. Goodpaster?
Yes.
Mrs. Guffey?
Yes.
Mr. Alvis?
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight.
The Bristol, the Brit, is this on?
Yeah.
It is, okay. The Bristol, Virginia School Board certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were considered.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jones?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Goodpaster?
Yes.
Mrs. Guppy?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve attachment A?
I
Make a
move we
motion
approve.
to approve attachment A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Jones?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Forbes Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Goodpaster?
Yes.
Mrs. Guppy?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Any older new business? All right, hearing none, meeting adjourned.